Ecosystem impact from food web changes. A keystone species is a species that is taken out of the ecosystem, meaning the food chain or food web. It would collapse the whole ecosystem. The organism is essential for the ecosystem to sustain life. Remember that a keystone species is a species that is disproportional or has a large effect. Remember, it can either be a prey or a predator. If it is removed from the ecosystem, the whole food chain or food web collapses. Example here is a sea otter. Food web is interactions of multiple food chains and what eats or consumes another organism. Example of a food web or food cycle depends on the feeding interactions of what eats what. In an ecological community, in some aspects it is concerned as consumer resource. Example of a food web is shown here. This is the Chesapeake Bay waterbird food web. As we see, we have primary producers, herbivores, consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. A food chain is a linear direction in what consumes another. Here's an example of multiple food chains. We have the aquatic and we have terrestrial. Predator-prey relationships. As a predator, they are always looking for their next meal. Consequence, the prey, these animals must adapt to their surroundings either by quickness, camouflage, grouping together, mimicking others, or by natural defenses. If they do not do this, they become a meal for a predator. Here's an example of mimicry. The relationship. In everything we talked about before about predator and prey, one has to relate to the other. They both evolve together. Example we have here is a fox. A fox is basically a predator. Remember that most animals have keen senses of sight, smell, or hearing, so can detect danger and escape. Some animals are active only at night when it is harder for predators to find them. Some animals are active during the day. It just depends on the ecosystem and the species. Here we have a rabbit. A rabbit is another example of high reproduction rates. Why? Is because it is considered a food source. Also, a rabbit is indication of quickness and camouflage. An owl is another example of a predator. An owl has an actual a defense mechanism or even an offensive mechanism as camouflage or protective coloration. Allows an animal to blend in with its environment to avoid being detected. This is a perfect example of an owl. A mouse is an example of a prey item. Other examples of prey items would include insects or small mammals. Here we have the picture of a game warden. Game warden basically decides on who can go onto land and if actually regulations are being followed by hunters.